Okay, this is Geometry, Chapter 4, Section 2. We're going to take a look at the problem set in Unit 2 of the skills practice. Calculate the value of each radical expression. So let's take a look. We're going to take a look at problem number 1, number 3, number 1, number 3, and number 5. So as we look at these, we're going to keep in mind what we were talking about with a perfect square. And we were talking about a number times itself, right? So the square root of a number, x, would be, say square root of 16. Then, 4 times 4 is 16. So we're looking at perfect squares on these three problems. So we'll start out taking a look at number 1. Number 1, which is done for you in the skills practice, but we're going to talk our way through it. So we have the square root of 81. So when I look at the square root, first I want to determine whether or not 81 is a perfect square. So in other words, can I find a number times itself that gives me 81? And in this case, would be the number 9. So I could take 9 times 9, right, which equals 81, or I could say 9 squared, because a number squared is opposite of its square root. Okay, so 9 times 9, or 9 squared, is going to be equal to 81. So then I know that I have the number 9 that would make a perfect square. So then the square root of 81 for my answer would be 9. Because again, 9 times 9 equals 81. Or 9 squared equals 81. So pause and take a look at that and see if you can understand how that was done. And if so, attempt the other problems on your own. Okay, let's take a look at another problem. Let's look at number 3. Number 3 is a little bit different because in number 3, we're multiplying square roots. We have 2 square roots. Number 3 gives us the square root of 16 times the square root of 16. In doing so, when you look at this, the 2 square roots are going to look kind of confusing. So when you think of this, you have to think of operations. In other words, multiplication, division, subtraction, and addition. And so I want to look at it this way. I want to put parentheses here. So I have the square root of 16 times the square root of 16 because the parentheses are an indicator of multiplication. So is there a perfect square for 16? Is there a number times itself that will give me 16? And that would be the number 4. So then I'm going to look at my other square root of 16 and determine that it too would be the number 4. Now, so that I don't confuse this and think that it's the number 44, I'm going to take and put parentheses at least around one of them. You can put it around both, but at least around one. So this would be equal to 4 times 4 is the same thing as saying 4 squared. So then my final answer for the square root of 16 times the square root of 16, if I'm going to calculate the value of this radical expression, my answer would be 4 squared. Because I have 2 4s. 4 times 4. 4 times itself. Okay, go ahead and pause. Take a look at that and see if you understand that. And if so, see if you can do the others on your own. We're now going to look at the final problem in this set, number 5. Number 5, it's similar to number 3 in that there are 2 radical expressions being multiplied by each other. And those are, you have the square root of 16 times the square root of 36. And again, I'm going to put parentheses around this to indicate that it is a multiplication problem. So I want to look at these. First, I'm going to look at the first radical expression, 16, and determine if there's a perfect square for 16. And there is. It is the number 4. But now I have to look at the radical expression number 36. So I'm going to look at the square root of 36 and try to determine if there is a perfect square. And what I'm going to notice is that if I take 6 times 6, it gives me 36. So then 6 will be my answer for the square root of 36. Now again, so that I'm not confused and somebody doesn't think that this number is 46, Instead, it is 4 times 6. So I'm going to go ahead and put a parentheses to indicate the operation, multiplication. So then I want to finish out the problem by saying 4 times 6 is 24. So then if, for my final answer, to solve or to calculate the value of this radical expression, then the square root of 16 times the square root of 36 would be equal to 24. And that's how you would go about calculating the value of radical expressions.